Hello and welcome to another video about the construction of phase 2 of Heaton Lodge Junction. Now you can probably guess I'm at the real Heaton Lodge Junction and wondering why Network Rail are in fact copying me. Of course I'm only joking, but we're going to go over to the basement in a minute and just have a look at my version of the Trans-Pennine upgrade. But there's an epic amount of work going on here. It really is incredible. The masts are already going up on the dive under. The dive under is actually just behind me. The footbridge, which is just popping up on your screen now, that's on Heaton Lodge Junction phase 1, of course, is actually just behind me. And the cottages were just right behind me here. You might just see the top of the old substation building, which is on the model and is still here, but the cottages have gone. Just wait till this train goes past. Obviously taking it slow because there's a lot of workmen around here. But yeah, just really is incredible what's going on here. But let's go back down to the basement, see what's going on my version of Heaton Lodge Junction, and I'll see you soon. Now then, while we're here at Heaton Lodge, I just wanted to show you Wood Lane Bridge, which features on Heaton Lodge phase 1. And if we just walk towards it, I just wanted to show you some of the detail that are built in while we're talking about bridges, which underneath this one, now the sunlight's just disappeared, are the jack arches. And on the model, which again is just popping up on your screen now, I even built these jack arches into it, which nobody can see on the model, of course, but I know they're there. And there we go. And that is the other bridge, in fact, the one that had that well-known picture of me sat on the fence as a 12-year-old kid. I was just sat on the left-hand side of that bridge, just over the other side of the 4 tracks that cross it. So there we go. Wood Lane Bridge and the railway bridge. And here we are at the model of Wood Lane Bridge, and you can see through it actually the bridge which we were just looking at, the railway bridge that carries 4 tracks a bit further on. And indeed, if you can just get to see it, pan down, you can see the jack arches which I copied from the real thing. Nobody gets to see them, but I know they're there, and you know, I guess that's all that matters to me. But let's just move along here, because we were stood just near, it's panned down, there's no trains today, everything's silent, but we were just, where I was just doing the introduction from, I was stood just about here, and with the bridge, which you can see there in the background, and the cottages, which are no longer with us, they were demolished a few months ago, and they're still here, obviously, on the model. So basically, there's only one of these tracks at Heaton Lodge Junction, but there is going to be a second one, and that's the dive under line, and there's going to be 4 tracks on the real thing when there was 3 before. Obviously there's 4 on mine now, or at least there was 4 up until recently, because mine was set in the 1980s. And this is my version of the Trans-Pennine route upgrade, which you can see. Now, I've still got to figure out how to make this base completely and utterly flat, because what I've found is, as I've used a multi-tool to dig up the track here for replacement, it's dug into the cork underneath and it's gouged out great big holes. So I'm kind of wondering how I'm going to make this flat again. But I think I'm just going to use a router and take it up and somehow try and make it flat. And we're going to have a look at the other side in a minute, because I have finished the gradient at the other side. The 08 there is still there with the old Dapol turbots helping me get the old gravel up, old ballast. And, you know, I was thinking actually the other day, it'd make actually a really good diorama, just having a bit of track just pulled up and being relayed. So, yeah, you never know. Maybe a thought for the future. So let's just pop round the other side and I'll show you what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say a few words about Andy York, because obviously he's just passed away, heard the news today, and it's a real shock. I remember my personal memories of Andy go back to 2013 when I started running it was a long running thread on RM Web all about the construction of Heaton Lodge Phase 1. And Andy must have obviously been reading it, because he got in touch with me and he came down to where I was working at the time in the West Midlands and had a look at the good 40 foot that I'd completed by the end of 2013. And he was nothing but an inspiration. He was encouraging, just like Alan Downs. He was a real inspiration. And it's just a it's just a horrible shame what's happened. And I just feel for his friends and family, and I just want to pass on my condolences to them, especially to Phil Parker, who I know was a really close friend of his. So sorry to hear that about Andy. Really good man. Right, let's take a look at what I've been doing since I last saw you. And it's been, I'm afraid, very unglamorous, with lots of swearing, cursing, and throwing of tools around. But eventually, I'm just about there. And it basically involves the realignment, a bit like the Trans-Pennine realignment. But basically, all I'm doing is I'm just smoothing this gradient out. I'm just recapping here because there's new people joined the channel since we last saw each other. So the inner two tracks, which are these concrete ones, tracks 1 and 2, used to follow these boards at the bottom. That's number 50. And then they go on to letters after that. But the gradient was too steep. So I was finding at Wakefield, the first exhibition that Heaton Lodge went out to, we were getting loads and loads of freight traffic just grinding to a halt, making the track filthy dirty, spinning of wheels and everything else. So I have realigned this gradient, made a new gradient, which is now 1 in 100. And to do that, I've had to remember to measure the bottom track bed from the floor of the basement and not from the wood underneath or the base underneath, because obviously all that's going to do, as I found out to my detriment, is mimic the gradient underneath it, if you can get that. So remembering to measure the 1 in 100 from the floor, then what's happening is this gradient is, as you can see, really smoothed out. I'll just pan out a bit. And then gradually it starts to meet the original gradient, and the two met just yesterday. In fact, just here where that card is underneath the track. And so I'm actually really pleased with myself, because the one on the left was what I just built first, and the gradient that's realigned on the right, I built second, and the two met in the middle completely perfectly. So I was really pleased with that. And as you can see, going up there, that's a really nice 1 in 100 gradient, which is going to be much, much easier for trains to get up. So at least we can have our 40 or even 48 HAAs pulled by a 37 or a 56 or a 58 or a tug or whatever you want. I've just got to finish relaying the track, and then we're nearly done. But what happened was, every time I kind of screwed a new track base down here, I found that when I looked at it again, even though it looked right on the measurements, it just didn't look right to the eye. But it's so difficult just changing these track beds by 2 or 3 millimeters every time to try and get this really consistent gradient. But what I found was a little trick was I started putting cork under the under the wooden blocks. And so the cork, when I screwed the screws in tighter with the electric screwdriver, it gave me a kind of a semblance of adjustment, get my words out. So the thickness of the cork meant that I could just basically adjust the track bed or the track base by 1 or 2 millimeters just by that cork kind of cushioning it. Anyway, it gave me, as I just said, a bit of a way of adjusting things, and it's worked out absolutely fine. So it's a really nice, smooth 1 in 100 now, which yeah, I'm really pleased about. And you can see all the different double junctions that we touched on last week. HS2 is, or is it HS2? HS3 is coming on along really, really well. I'm going to Tim Horn's later this week to pick up his new track bases, and Steve at Railway Laser Lines is making the sides again that we touched on last week, so it will all look like this. And the catenary is going to be made in resin, so I'm just having those masts designed just like the real thing at the minute, and they will obviously go into there at intervals, so that should work out really well. And that is progress so far. Let's just go and have a look at the other side, because I've been doing a bit more ballasting with some really dark ballast that I just want to show you. So we'll just nip over the other side. Before we look at the ballast, this is the now dried static grass kind of result of the lesson we did last week. And you can see that's just still had 1 layer of static grass. And if I pan out, you can see the one that's had 2 layers. But that, to my eye, looks really, really good. Obviously, I've still got to do the top. We're going to put in the stone walls soon. And that's going to run all the way down, as we've said many times, all the way down to the right of the last track on the right. On these bases, which are just basically shelving units from wicks. So really good way to extend your layout if it's just scenery, because all it's doing is carrying a bit of polystyrene, and that will work really well. So yeah, I'm pleased with that, and I hope it gave some of you some inspiration to kind of go over your existing scenery, which may be the old flock or whatever, and just try this, because it really does work well. And if you missed it, it was in last week's video. Ballasting, here we go. Now, this is a bit different because I've used the very dark, I had a big tub from DCC Concepts of their siding ballast, which is almost black, but it suits the sidings really, really well. There aren't that many sidings in concrete sleeper track, but I thought I'd be a little bit different this time. And you can see how that curves really nicely around, and then it joins another siding, which is a spur off the main station. Yeah, so that's worked really, really well. I've used that concrete sealer to seal everything. It's absolutely, put my finger on, rock hard now. And with the little gizmo that featured in a video 2 or 3 weeks ago from Make It Miniature, it absolutely took, cracky, I think it was probably no longer than 20 minutes to ballast all of this using what is it? Getting my words mixed up now. Using the product by Steve at Railway Laser Lines, the ballast spreader, and then on top of that, using the Make It Miniature vacuum cleaner, and it worked an absolute treat. So yeah, it was definitely less than about 20 minutes to do all that, which means I can do a full board, I reckon, within a day. And if there's 50 or 60 boards, then obviously a couple of months dedicated to ballasting is all it's going to take to ballast the whole layout, which is a massive relief, because up till a few weeks ago, I had no idea how I was going to accomplish this. So there we go. I think that ballasting needs a bit of weathering, a few sleepers put in where there's some missing ones, a few bits of clumps of grass and everything, and that will look really good. It looks even better, actually, when it's next to the ponds that we did together a few weeks ago. So there we go. So that's it for this week, folks. I know it was a bit of a shorter video this week, but lots more to come next week, because I am going down to Shepperton Studios to pick all these resin parts up, which is going to form part of the concrete factory. So we're going to look at that next week. And what else are we going to be doing as well? I'm going down to Tim Horn's to pick up quite a lot of bits for the HS3 flyover. So lots more next week. Thanks for this week, for watching rather, and please like and subscribe as ever, and have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.